So let me tell you about this really cool place called Carmine's Pizza Kitchen. It's in Henderson. If you haven't been there, they are at 1015 American Pacific Drive in Henderson. Now, this has to be one of my favorite interviews because I love it when people are so candid with me and they're not afraid to express how they feel, and how their life experience has made them into the person that they are. And that's exactly what I got out of this interview that I want to bring with you, or to you, I should say, in this episode. And again, I had the most amazing conversation with the owner. His name is Frank Vento. We really just talked about his family history, which, by the way, they're celebrating 50 years here in Las Vegas, which is an amazing accomplishment. And so I wanted to share with you the amazing food, the great authentic conversation. I mean, this place has been around so long. It's an icon here in Las Vegas, right? And all of the Vegas icons, from the entertainers to musicians to athletes, have all been to this place. And for a lot of people who don't know, this place was the first place in Las Vegas to sell pizza by the slice, which is like, didn't all places do that? No. Like back in the day, when even now there's certain places that you can't go to get it by the slice. You have to order a full pie. And so they really broke ground, right? They were breaking history when they first started doing that here in Las Vegas. And so I just really wanted to bring this to you because obviously, we love eating food, but I think it's important to understand the history of Las Vegas and the cultural diversity of Las Vegas. And I think Carmine's Pizza Kitchen definitely has its stamp when it comes to Las Vegas history. So the first thing I asked Frank was how they even got here to Las Vegas, because they're from Brooklyn, New York, right? All the way from the East Coast. And I asked him how he got involved in his family's business, because when he was younger, he told me he didn't want anything to do with it. In fact, he moved away so that he didn't have to be a part of the business. But there was one thing that happened when he was young that really just made it all click for him. And he came back home. And this was the reason why.
My dad came to Vegas in '75 on vacation from Brooklyn. He had to get out of Brooklyn for a minute because he was slinging pizzas every day, and and they came on vacation. Well, then he saw there was nothing out here, told my grandfather, send all his furniture out, drove a cab, realized there was no pizza except for Godfather's and Shakey's at the time. And he opened the first Villa Pizza in 1976. First person in Vegas to sell pizza by the slice. You know, I didn't want nothing to do with this business. I didn't. I was like, nope. I had to work. If I got in trouble in school, I had to wash dishes. If I got in trouble in school, I had to go cook the fry, right? I said, I'm not doing this. So I left. 1990, I went to New York. I was in Manhattan. I was going to Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. Just figuring it out. I was a young kid. I was 18. Then I got a job at the Met, the Metropolitan Opera House, and I was not coming back because I was doing well. It was a good job. I was in a union job. And then I tell you exactly how it happened. I was in basement with my cousins, and my aunt came down and said, "Hey, to my cousin, you have to go to the store and help your father. He's missing a counter person." And you know, that was the first time I saw, my cousin didn't miss a beat. He said, okay, he got up and he went. I was in the mindset of like, I didn't want to do that. But then I realized as I was there, you know, the family dynamic in the pizza business from back east and back home is we live on the top and you come downstairs and work in the store when you're needed to. And that store takes care of your family. It puts milk on the table. It helps your kids, everything. So that is when I kind of realized what my legacy was.
So again, you know, I love to eat. Me and CB are always out and about, right? So what better interview, right, than to have good food, a good Italian food at that, classic Italian food, and good conversation. And so as I made my way around the menu, right, because we had so many different things, Frank wanted to point out something specific on the menu that really meant something to him and his family. So again, you guys know I love food, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't love food? And this was like one of the best interviews because it's great food, great classic Italian food and conversation. And so as I'm making my way through the menu and we're sampling all these different things, Frank points out a specific dish that people have to come and try, not only because he thinks it's good, but because it has a very special meaning to him and his family.
So let's talk about this dish right here, this rigatoni Carmine. So this dish originally originated in Jersey at Rosso Pomodoro. That was my uncle's place. The red tomato, right? Very funny, good name, real cool place, Pomodoro. And it then was passed to his next restaurant, which was Portofino, which now the dish was called rigatoni Portofino. Well, I loved this dish at that time, and my aunt over there would make it for me on Sunday. So when I moved back, I said, "Hey Dad, Uncle Jackie made this dish. I want you to try it." So it was a big ordeal because they had to like talk about how the dish was made, and nobody was allowed to touch it. And so then my dad showed the main chef, who's still here, he works for us still, how to make it. It's now called rigatoni Carmine, after him. They didn't give it after my name, they gave it after my dad's name, so whatever. But whatever, I brought the dish back, so he got the credit, which is fine.
Now, as I told you in the beginning, things got a little emotional during our interview because, when we talk about owning a business and hardships and how, regardless of what life throws at you, that you still have to work, you still have to persevere, you still have to do business, right? You still have to be there for your employees and your livelihood. And Frank has faced a lot of adversity coming home and being a part of the family business. And we discussed some of those hardships after opening up Carmine's, but we also talked about the legacy that he wants to continue on behalf of his mother, who passed away shortly after they opened.
We opened this, so everybody, thinks small business and being in your own business is easy. It's not easy. You really have to be dedicated, especially in a pizza business, because you have to embody the family atmosphere. Well, I was very excited to open this place, and then January 16th, 2020, we opened. I get a call. I just went home. I was open 3 days. I was sitting by my wife, and my phone rings, and it was my best friend's sister to tell me that he had ended his life, and that was the third day I was open. And he was my brother. He lived with me while we were kids. My mom was basically his step-in mom because his mom was working all the time. It was pretty bad, but I had zero time to grieve because I was opening a new place and I still had to come in and smile and show people that I was here and give good feedback to my team. Well, then, months later, my mom dies. My mom passed away. And she was alive during this, and she said to me, "Worry about the business. Don't take your eyes off the business." I said, "Mom, what can I do for you?" And I don't want to get all teary-eyed right now on you, but I said, "What's the one thing I can do for you, Mom?" And she said, "Keep an eye on your brother and your sister." And I took that, excuse me.
So again, things got a little emotional, but that's okay. But that's why I love doing what I do, guys. I love getting the raw emotion of how you feel, how it felt, because I know that emotion is going to touch someone else, knowing that they too have been through hardship, and to know that someone else has been through hardship, whatever it may be. How did they persevere so I can persevere, right? And Frank just has such a good, powerful story. So a little sidebar to this story. When they DM'd me to come talk to Frank about the 50 years Carmine's has been in Vegas, I think they thought I was still working in my former capacity. And so when I showed up, they were like, oh, what station you with? What news outlet you're with? And I'm like, I'm with Summer Hour Vegas. I know y'all don't know me, but I still came because I wanted to, again, my job here is to explore the culture, to explore what makes Vegas so diverse, because people can't seem to find the diversity. And so here I am, not a traditional legacy news outlet, coming to get your story, right? And so as I got there and we're talking and Frank is just pouring into me, and, we get that East Coast connection. So we're just blabbing and talking and really going in. And the reporter comes up and is, oh, hi, my name is so-and-so from Fox 5 and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sure she was kind of looking at me like, who's this girl and how she get here first? And I'm just like, hey. And, after that, we, continued our conversation later. He went to go do his interview, but I will say I got the better interview. I just feel like Frank felt like he could be more vulnerable with me. And we just had a candid, fun conversation, right? And those types of conversations bring out the personality in people, not stiff interviews. And I'm not trying to shade sis, but I don't know how professional this interview may have been, right? Whereas me and Frank were talking like we were cousins from the East Coast, like we already knew each other. So it was like really easy to really tap in to those emotions with him. So again, like I said, it got a bit emotional, but I don't blame him. There was a lot that he had to take on, not only being a business owner, because his mother told him, make sure you pay attention to the business, right? So you got to pay attention to the business, but also your personal life feels like it's falling apart. And I think Frank did such a great job just being strong, having those people that he could lean on, of course, but being strong to continue his family legacy, continue the business. And so we talked about that, earlier, just, the trials and tribulations entrepreneurs and business owners feel on a daily basis while dealing with death, or just dealing with the craziness that life throws at you, while also holding your composure and running a business. And so he talked about, the importance of that and why it's important moving forward after those hardships.
And now I'm very grateful that at the end of the week or month, if the bills are paid and the staff is paid and there's a little money for extra to put into our retirement, that's all I care about.
So if you're looking for a good place to eat, good conversation, if you see Frank at Carmine's, tell him Renee sent you. Tell him he's doing a phenomenal job. The food there is so good. If you want pizza by the slice, if you want classic Italian food, I can tell you we had the chicken parmesan. We had a number of pasta dishes. Chris had like a meat lover style pizza. I had a white style pizza. Both of them were so good. We had like this lazy Susan charcuterie board with meats and peppers and cheeses and everything. I mean, the experience there wouldn't have been the same if Frank wasn't there telling us his stories and just giving us such good conversation pieces that we could take with us. I think that the environment itself, which encompasses, his family, his Italian roots, but also the migration of his family here in Las Vegas and how they've planted their seed here, is really extraordinary. So if you're looking for a cool place to have some pizza, stop by Carmine's in Henderson, tell him Renee sent you. But, it just fills my heart with joy knowing people like Frank, because I think that's the most important part of these interactions, is finding the culture, finding the diversity, and knowing that these are people too, and they're just looking for a place to call home in Las Vegas. So until next time, guys.